Hey everybody, Fifth Horseman here with a very special episode of my Kerbal Space Program series. And we're just going to jump right into the video here that I pre-recorded, and I'm playing at 6 times speed. So every minute of the game is only going to take 10 seconds. And while this is happening, I'm going to explain to you what's going on Kerbin and with the budding but perhaps ill-fated Kerbal Space Program. This mission is heading up to Moon to get the Kerbal out of the space station there, and also land and get the Kerbal out of the ground station and bring them home. And why am I doing this? Well, I'm going to tell you. You see, anti-science factions in the Kerbal government who have been against the space program since its inception have used this recent economic downturn that's been going on since Kerbal Space Program, since my personal foray into Kerbal Space Program started. They used it to their advantage. Fuel costs right now on Kerbin are skyrocketing. No pun intended. And while the problems are actually due to warlords in the Kethane fields of the Western Desert ambushing trucks and tankers, the population of the main continent of Kerbin was getting afraid that actually the space program was what was burning up all the fuel. So the factions all joined together during the last political campaign, and they created a whole new political party called the Whole Kerbin Glory Days Party, or as their opponents dubbed them, the Glory Holers. Really quick here, though, I don't know if you noticed it, but the space station there was empty. I had actually forgotten that I had pulled the Kerbin out of the space station ahead of time, so I sent this ship up with 2 capsules on it, but only actually needed to return 1 Kerbal back to Kerbin. So Jeb was in space, so Bill and Bob Kerman went in front of the Congressional Committee, and yes, both of those words start with a K. They went there to explain, though, how Kethane operations on both Moon and Midmus, and eventually other planets, are on the brink of paying for themselves. With just a few more missions, the planet could actually see a new source of fuel that would put these warlords in the desert on a disadvantage and make their entire fuel industry obsolete. And it could actually spurn an entire new economic blossoming on the planet. But Senator Kerman, who was a well-known glory dayer, or glory holer, as Bill and Bob referred to him, he refused to listen. And with the backing of the populace, who was staring at a redoubling of the fuel costs in the next couple months, there was nothing the Kerbinauts could do. The writing was not just on the wall. It was on the orders that were direct from President Kerman himself. They're shutting down the Kerbal Space Center. The orders were simple. Bring the boys home and close the doors. For good. So they launched a 2-capsule ship to the Moon, and then they launched another one to Minmus. And you're going to watch the rest of that now, and I'll be back when that's done. Jeb, who had an escape capsule on his ship in low Kerbal orbit, returned on his own, and a final little two-man ship rose into the sky shortly after, and pick up the final two members of the budding but ill-fated space program, and bring them home for good. One morning, as things were winding down, Jeb went in and pled with the mission controller. He said, "Look, we're just using this remote control unit to bring back our guys. It's out there, it's on, it's ready to go. Look, the 5 Duna lander mission has a window, a burn window, that if we don't make this burn, it's not going to intercept Duna. And then it's just going to fly off into space, and all this money that we spent, all this time, all this prep work is going to be lost. Just while we're controlling the other ship, let me flip over and do the burn. It's just a couple minutes. No one will know. No one will know. What can it hurt?" The mission controller, after thinking about it, decided to let him do it. What could it hurt? What could disobeying a direct order from the President of the United Kerbal States? So we allowed Jeb to make the burn and get the 5 Duna lander on target to enter the Duna sphere of influence. The next day, Jeb came back. Turns out the Kethane scanner was about to reach Duna. "Nobody has to know," he said again. "We're still controlling this ship. It's going to just bring the guys down anyway. Just let me in there. I'll do a quick aero brake. I'll get this thing in orbit around Ike. We can even start scanning it. Just let it run. What could it hurt?" The controller thought about it. What could it hurt? Just another disobeying of an order from the President. So he let Jeb do it. And while Jeb was doing that, he realized this was the final day of the space program. The 5 Duna lander was still on its way, but it was just going to pass right through Duna's sphere of influence and head off into space. Not to mention the 5 Joule lander, which hadn't even made it even close to Joule yet. And the Driloho program, one of the ships still in orbit around Kerbin. The other one's set to intercept, but no one will be there even to listen. And then as he was sitting there, he realized just how small the remote control unit was and how it was just plugged into the wall. Didn't have any connections to the main center. It would be fairly simple to set up a small command center anywhere on the planet Kerbin. Anyone could do it. And then Jeb realized he could do it. What could it hurt? Who said the space program has to be closed? For good. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is the close of Season 1, and Season 2 is going to start when 0.23 is released, hopefully in the next couple days. I've got a couple plans for what Season 2 is going to entail, but this sets the stage for all those plans, and you're just going to have to find out what happens when I am back, when 0.23 is released and Season 2 starts. But until then, I'm Fifth Horseman, and I will, as always, talk at you later.